So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. And welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to grow your wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts, and each episode, I'm joined by some of the best financial independents and passive income wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Our next guest is a multifamily expert, commercial real estate expert. He grew up in the family. His father was in the business, and he had a chance to absorb it all. And he's going to share some knowledge now as he has joined the family business. He also is a fellow LeBron James fan, as I am, and from Cleveland, Ohio, where I happen to have a bunch of family too, in Akron, Ohio. Anyone who knows Swarts with a Z, that is my mom's maiden name, and I hope to meet you soon. If you're listening to this in Ohio, I think I have 300 to 500 relatives. All that being said, enough about me. Our guest, John Carney, you can find him at johncarneyonline.com. He also hosts a really cool podcast called The Real Estate Locker Room, and it's a nice kind of twist and or combination of sports and real estate, and how working as a team and really focusing on excellence can help you grow your real estate wealth. So with that being said, John, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brett. I am fired up, and this is an important topic that we're going to dive into today.
Absolutely. So, John, would you give our listeners a little bit about your background and your current focus?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I suppose I represent the third generation in a family real estate business. And, the cut and dry is when you look at historical figures, this is where it all falls apart, right? It just does. But, I was very fortunate enough to grow up around the real estate business. I come from a family of lawyers. I did not go down that track, more the entrepreneur. I would say that the one business that I started, real estate focused, that stuck. I was out on my own. I moved to Australia in 2009 to support the lady who is now my wife, Leah. She could not stay in the United States with me at that time because she had her mom was unwell. I moved to Melbourne. That was right in the middle of our financial hardship. The real estate market had crashed. I'd been doing some deals on my own, small deals, when I was living out west. And, I wanted to be a developer and get into the family business and an investor. And I started a business in Australia called America Property Source. And that enabled Australian investors, we say safely, invest in U.S. real estate in the single family home and small multifamily space in Phoenix. We were able to accomplish that, by having a great team on the ground and knowing the process of how to get from I'd like to invest in the United States from abroad, into doing it the correct way. And that just, being surrounded by people that were like-minded and had all the skills that you didn't, just showed me that really quickly you can start a business in a foreign country and be successful. And, that sort of was one part of my journey in doing real estate development deals over there with some folks. And when I say you're on an island, Australia is technically an island, and I built my network, by going out and meeting people and my business by hustling, and then was asked to come back to Cleveland so that I could work on some projects with the Landmark Companies, which is a downtown Cleveland and Indianapolis real estate development business. They started out with converting old warehouse buildings and factories into loft apartments in the 90s. I was super fortunate enough to work on those projects in college as a demo cleanup labor union guy, and then even after college, I got to see a development come through fruition. So I mean, I did have some knowledge and background before I left Ohio, and now I'm back in working with the team, and we've got a new project that we hope to get out of the ground in the next 12 months. So a lot going on.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. What a journey you've been on, overseas and back, and family and back, and real estate, all kind of surrounding that. So I can relate. I grew up with my dad in the Bay Area, developing single family homes and doing room additions and owning real estate. He's owned real estate, and I was the one, moving the bricks or hammering the nails or doing whatever it takes to help bring the project to completion. And so I understand what it means to be in real estate with family. So that being said, I'm curious, before we dive into some of the strategies you use to build that wealth and help your partners and such, who was John growing up? And I really want you to maybe identify that one strength that you were given. I think we're all given certain God-given gifts, and there's certain strengths or certain gifts that we were given. What was that one gift you were given, John, and how does that help how you help people today?
You know, I would say that I don't really accept no for an answer unless there's a compelling reason. So I mean, I'm always curious, and I like to understand how things work, and more so in business and people and relationships. But so I don't know. If we've got little kids. I got little kids now, and they're giving it right back to us. You're always saying no. You're always making up rules. So I'm always, maybe taking that with me. But I don't always accept things as they are, you could say, and really like that. It's more of a curiosity to figure out why someone's responding the way they are, and from the child's perspective, they're saying no, they don't want you to do that, and I'm kind of always questioning, well, why not? So I don't know if that comes into a you get in the real estate game or any business on the entrepreneur side, you've got to be prepared to get knocked down, and you got to be prepared to get back up, and that's just sort of was developed over time.
Yeah, I love it. So not afraid to ask the tough questions, driven and curious at the same time, and you just keep going, right? So I love that, and absolutely. So connect that now with your partners and what you're doing with the family, right? Because I imagine multi-generational wealth, real estate, lots of success. They say something needs to be solved. Let's get John on that. Let's get him in the trenches and figure this thing out, right?
I like to empower my team to solve problems and be innovative and take those risks. But yes, I'm always available to lend my experience and I suppose. But you know what it is? It's like in our family business, you go back to my dad's side of the family. His father, he was born to Irish immigrant parents. That it's that story. I grew up with the American dream story right here, and it was tangible. Had a hard time, had to pay to go to high school, skip school to work. Was in a house with his brother and in dirt floors, and they became they were digging basements, and then they had an excavating company, construction, right into the real estate business, and they were able to grow that into a commercial business, and they became lawyers, and really that it's that American dream story that I grew up with in the 70s and 80s, right? And on my mom's side of the family, her parents were Bulgarian immigrants. She's the first generation American in her family. My grandfather on my mom's side fought in World War One. So I grew up with a World War I war veteran grandfather and a World War II veteran grandfather. And, it was always about, my grandparents sharing the American dream. You got to work hard. You've got to, you've got to, just keep going forward. And my father is awesome. I mean, he's an attorney by trade, really good with language and numbers. he just knows how to, build relationships and do deals and make everybody, feel good. And it's a great trait to have. I don't claim to have that by any means, but I mean, it's just, I was lucky being surrounded by good grandparents and parents, and just being invited in to participate in real estate by doing all the ugly work first, right?
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. What a legacy, And so I don't know if your dad's written that book yet, but if not, you got to get on the horn there, right? And start writing that book and capture all of that legacy, right? That is such a neat, neat family to be a part of. I imagine it'd be so much fun. So have you written the book yet, or who's writing the book?
Oh, on that, no, I would probably have to write that book, but I haven't written it yet. It's just interesting. You talk about carrying bricks. I mean, so I was a brickies laborer, on commercial projects and nothing too crazy. But I mean, that's hard work. That's a hard day's work. And I don't know. I think everyone should carry bricks for a summer.
Absolutely. I remember with my dad, it was, we get up maybe 6 a.m. We drive to a local McDonald's, get a little, sausage McPatty and a little, what do you call it? The hash brown. And then by 7, we're working, for 5-6 hours, a little quick little lunch break, and then working for another 4 or 5 hours. And we're, moving, the tractors. My dad had a Bobcat, but I mean, it's moving bricks, it's moving stone, it's hammering nails, it's putting up drywall. But yeah, those are some of like the best memories, and as well as learning how to work hard and in being a part of a family or a dad with that hard manual labor. There's something about absorbing that as you're a part of that. It becomes ingrained in you just to work hard. That's what you do, right? And this is these long days, and it's. So I agree with you completely. At some point, spend a whole summer moving bricks or hammering nails, and it'll teach you a hard day's work, if that makes sense.
Well, it's awesome too. Absolutely. Now, my wife's side of the family, her uncle, I want to say he's in his late 60s. He might have even had the big 7-0, but I mean, he's a sheep farmer back in Australia. I mean, so when we travel back and visit the family, the kids are on the farm, and I mean, they're in the shearing shed, and I mean, that's hard work. So I mean, they're the other side of our immediate family has some grit and some rise in it, right? There's a Dierks Bentley song called Riser for all you country music fans out there, but I mean, it really just hits it. I mean, it's about waking up early and getting the job done. But I like to think of the commercial real estate. We're in the apartment business we're in. We've got customers, our tenants, and we want to provide a great product and service. And so the entrepreneur, mindset kicks in and says, how do we be creative and stay ahead, stay relevant, right? And with all the new product that comes online, and how do we use that family story and that quick decision making? Someone can get a problem solved right from the top if they have to, pretty much in the same day. And I mean, that's sort of part of how we run our business. And it's not a huge multifamily company by any stretch of the imagination, but big enough.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit. How many units do you guys currently own or manage, and give us maybe some of the top secrets to finding deals that make sense today in a marketplace that, let's face it, it's very uncertain with the shift of one of the most highly appreciated marketplaces that we were in 2019. Corona hits. Now we're in the kind of the aftermath. We're still in the middle of it. What is the best way to make sure that you're buying deals that make sense, and what are you seeing out there?
Well, we haven't started looking. We're in May 2020, right? And the conversations come up. We have a new development project in Cleveland. It's going to be 214 plus new construction on our lakefront, Lake Erie, just east of Cleveland, and it's on some vacant land that's adjacent to our existing property, the Shoreline, which we acquired in 2017. And added units to that property. So, I mean, we're bringing a critical mass to this little section of lake frontage that's just outside of the city of Cleveland. And Lake Erie, for folks who haven't been here, I mean, it's a big, wide open space. It's an amenity. It's the North Coast. It's the border between the U.S. and Canada. And, it's nice on a sunny day, and it's nice on a stormy day. So, that's what we have in our sites right now. As far as our unit count, we're about 750 units, and we'd be adding another 200 plus across 5 buildings that we own at the moment.
That's wonderful. And I'm just curious, what do you think the average rents are going to be once those units are up? And are they 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, square footage? Walk us through a little bit of the specs there for those who might be interested in
And
developing projects today's.
the new construction, right? So, I mean, we are going to, there's a high demand, I think, in any urban market right now for 1 bedrooms. And I want to say that we'll have to do our math backwards here. There's going to be no 3 bedrooms in the new construction project. And I believe we're 22 or 24 2 bedrooms, and the rest are all going to be, we have 3 varieties of 1 bedrooms, going from efficiency, kind of in that probably 650 square foot range, up to a little bit higher, maybe 1,000 square feet, 1,100 square feet. But I don't have it in front of me. We're working on the final. These projects we're taking into almost year 3. Right, acquiring the land, doing the development work, and was about a year and a half. And if we get in the ground with construction, here at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, that's the journey. But we're just tightening up a few things in our capital stack, and we're partnered with a contractor who's getting the plans. The architect and the contractor and the city, all important pieces of the development project. Everyone's working remotely, and the government's basically been shut down. So we're still communicating with people by email, but getting those elusive signatures that are challenging to pin down during the best of times, or might take another month or so. So
Yeah, imagine that could be exasperated a bit with the shutdown. So walk us through the exit plan, right? So capital gains tax solutions, at a certain point, do you sell? Do you just refinance and buy more? Do you 1031? What has typically been the strategy for the family for deferring capital gains tax?
well, like, if you buy and hold until you die has been is the family strategy at the moment. But in that is, I don't know that was learned by my dad and his brothers, is the pass down from into the second generation, right? I talk about Landmark. That's the business I'm in. There's some other commercial assets, the office, small office buildings in shopping centers, right? And that was what my dad and his brother, both attorneys and both manage those commercial assets. No, that's sort of how they were taught. In the real estate game, the big exits, being bought up by a REIT or just selling at the top of the market, whatever. The conversation that's being had is what happens if one partner does want to sell, or we have an asset that we are pouring money into, we refinanced. These are old buildings, right? And you have to do some facade work on buildings that are over 100 years old. You're pulling $1 million on a refinance. You're not getting any more rent. This is just necessary maintenance that happens. And so then you're pulling out money to fix up units. And hey, can we sell this in 5 years? Let's look at this in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and 5 years. And so that's a conversation we're having about an asset. And that wasn't part of the initial strategy, but we're looking at solutions, like the capital gains tax solution that you offer, to say technology and experts in the tax code have evolved, over the last 30 years. So, there might be opportunities, to sell and not go broke, because that's what, that is without the right strategy, right? Poor planning is the enemy. Is that what you said?
Yeah, not having a clear plan is the enemy, right?
Yeah.
And using a proven tax deferral strategy. Exactly. You got it.
It is. So, that is the question. And I'm a big fan of buy and hold, but I'm not a big fan of forever anything. How about that?
Yeah, it's the old proverb, right? There's a time and a place, right? A time for war, a time for peace, a time to, a time to kill, and a time to amend, and a time to sell, and a time to buy, right? And it really just depends on what the strategy, or what the wealth outcome you want it to be, and how do you get there. And the biggest thing that we find before people meet us is it's the old school of thinking, right? Which in old school meaning like the old Blockbuster, right? You have old Blockbuster. That's how you used to go there, and you have to rent the movie, and sometimes the movie would be there, sometimes it'd be checked out. You'd have to return it within the 3 days, and if you didn't, you get the font, you get the little fee there. You have to make sure you rewind it. That's kind of like the old 1031 exchange. It's restrictive. It's a bit clunky. It's a bit not as seamless as what the deferred sales trust is. Just like the Netflix now, where you can sell and get a new depreciation schedule. You can sell and not do a 1031. You could sell and move it all outside your taxable estate. You can sell and separate the partnerships. It's really an elegant way to solve a lot of the baby boomers, because that's where your parents are, right? They're probably baby boomers or older, and they're faced with what's called the largest wealth transfer in the history of the planet, which is the $17 trillion that's going to pass from that generation to our generation in the next 20 years. And they're faced with the toilets, the trash, the liability, and the headaches that are associated with the active day-to-day management. And they're looking for ways to defer that tax and to retire, but also to pass on the wealth to the next generation without getting absolutely clobbered. So how do you do that? Well, most folks think it's just hold, get the stepped up basis, which is one strategy. But the other one is a hybrid. You can sell, move it to the deferred sales trust. And then from there, you can put it back into real estate at any time. And so it creates kind of the best of both worlds. But that being said, have you guys looked at, I'm curious, with that many units, you may have explored, and your dad's are, attorney, have you explored estate tax and how that might be an implication for family generational wealth?
Yeah, I mean, like I can't really speak to that other than he spent a lot of time and energy. I mean, and he was a tax lawyer, by training, and keeps his license active with the CE every year. But for transactional stuff, we hire lawyers to review everything, right? He's a workhorse, by the way. My dad's 75 and he's charging hard, and my brother and I want him to take more time off, right? And they were planning on it this summer. They were going to hit the road, or hit the other side of the Atlantic, right? And we're all just kind of held up for now. But to answer your question, really his estate planning, I'm going to say something bad and say I assume it's buttoned up, but we talk about it as a family unit. But as far as the business goes, we're not selling anything right now, right? We have cash flow assets. We're paying down debt. We have a great team of managers and people that work for us and look after these assets, and we're hands on the tools, so to speak, right? My brother and I, and the two founders, they are as well, right? These guys are not your retire and do nothing type guys. They're hard chargers. They're real estate developers. Someone said that once you ride that tiger, you never get off of it. And they're lawyers, so they enjoy the game. My dad and his partner Bob, and they're winding back as far as time in the office. But we've all learned in the last 40 days that you can get a lot done without being in the office, and that you talk about that generation learning what we know, and being able to really take full advantage of that square little device we carry around, rectangular device we carry around in our pockets, and all the technology that's out there. It's been a game changer for them, being able to hop on Zoom meetings and work remotely with their team through other platforms where we've had but haven't been using.
Love it. Yeah, love it. And then that is the American dream, right? Being able to do what you love and help people build generational wealth. And so amazing. So are you ready for the lightning round, John?
Absolutely. If I answered your question, we don't know. Like, we're trying to get our generation. Like, we don't believe that. I'm trying to bring the education of people like yourself to the table and say, dying doesn't have to be the only option, guys. There are some super smart folks out there that have other ways of doing it. And before I jump in, I know the 1031 exchange is something that they aren't fond of, because as lawyers in real estate their entire lives, they know people that have had bad experiences. And so there's a real no, that's not it. We could do that, but then we have to buy more real estate, and we've done, so yeah, I am ready for the lightning round, but I wanted to throw that.
No, I appreciate that. And I mean, that's really why we started our business. Got to have enough friends and family and clients. Some lost everything in the '08 crash because they had overpaid for the 1031 exchange, took on too much debt within that 180-day window and that 45 days to identify. And they didn't diversify. They didn't get liquidity and they didn't get out of debt. And it cost them a lot. And we're going to see that happen again this COVID-19, unfortunately, for those who had overpaid and were over leveraged. And, it's sad. It's really sad. If you work 20, 30 years or 10 years or whatever, even 5 years for a project just to capture the value, but then just to have to overpay in that same market that you captured it in. So we really are here to help provide freedom from capital gains tax, right? And then give options to go back in at optimal timing, which could be the next day or could be 5 years from now. So I appreciate you sharing that. And that's exactly why we're here. We started this company for families like yourself and for all of our friends and family and clients who sell commercial real estate so they don't have to ever feel trapped. They can at least have another option or an alternative to save a failed 1031 exchange or just do something besides the 1031. So that being said, let's move to the lightning round. John, here we go. So knowing what you know now, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self and tell yourself the one golden nugget that could change your trajectory in your life, what would it be?
I would have focused more on surrounding myself with a team of people before I got into some of my first real estate ventures on my own.
Excellent. So getting that dream team, surrounding yourself with those before you went solo.
That's correct. I skipped Beautiful. A step once. Haven't skipped it since, but it was it was a bad one.
I hear you. No, this is why we're sharing it. Thank you. What is the one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Well, I gift a book that I was part of called 10,000 Miles to the American Dream. I was a co-author of that, and we're going to send a few copies your way. But, something on my bookshelf right over here that I read recently that's full of notes is it's a book called Never Split the Difference. Have you heard about it?
I have. Chris Voss.
Yeah.
One of the mind-blowing books I've read the past year and a half.
I mean, I'm following him on Instagram. I get his Tuesday morning thing. I mean, it's an amazing book. So Never Split the Difference is something that,
it's a must read. It's a must read. Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah. Your favorite leadership quote or theme that you live by?
Wow. Never quit.
Easy. Perfect. Beautiful. What are you curious about right now, John?
I am curious about, we're in this global pandemic. I'm really curious about how when bad things happen, good things come out of it. And I'm really curious to see how, what good is going to come out of this.
Love that perspective. And you got me curious about that now too. Now, John, our last question, and then we'll find out where our listeners could find you at. How do you stay centered, John, after all your success, after maybe even if it's even a family question too, for the whole legacy? How do you and your family, how do you guys stay centered in your values and encouraged to charge forward to reach new goals?
Well, I just don't know that there's ever a finish line. I think you get to a point where you look at how you help other people, but I don't know. I was brought up with very humble in a very humble environment, and I know that in the grand scheme of things, we're doing our part in our business, but we don't really have a big head on our shoulders. I think that, I move every day. And if I don't, for some reason, because of schedule or weather or whatever the reason is, I got to get out and move myself the next day. So I think focusing on, how I fuel myself in my exercise and my sleep at this stage of the game are the things that keep me centered. And I've got a group of people that I exercise with, and that tribe I miss. And we're getting that band back together next week. And that's sort of the community aspect to everything. And that's a place where I go and unplug, and laugh. So
love that. Yeah, community, friendship, working out. For me, it's basketball in the mornings, Saturdays and Sundays early. and for 2 hours, and it's the same thing, a little competition, obviously a game I love, and some community and some friendships. So beautiful. I want to thank you, John, for sharing your story, your inspiration, and about your family story. It's really inspirational, and how multifamily investing can change generational wealth, and how having grit and working hard and never giving up will propel you to success. So keep using the gifts and talents you've been given to make a difference. And before we let you go, where, for those who want to get in touch with you, what would be the best place for folks to connect with you, John?
Look, you can shoot me an email at jc@johncarneyonline.com. If you're interested in tuning into the Real Estate Locker Room show, by all means, would love it if you subscribe and leave us a review.
Beautiful. Well, thanks, John. And thanks again to our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to grow your wealth. With that, please rate, subscribe, review, leave a comment. We so appreciate your feedback and all of your support. It means the world to us. Thank you so much. Until next time, make it a great day. Bye now.
Thanks a lot, Brett.
Perfect, John. Thanks so much. Hey, have a great week. And great job. Any feedback for me? Always looking for feedback at the 46 interview. Anything you would change?
No, I think it's cool, man. I really like what you're doing. So I've got two things for you. One is, I don't know, did I send you books? What's your best address?
201 Pinecrest, all one word, Pinecrest Court. And it's Roseville, California. 95678.
95678. Did you 95678? Is it Rose or Grows?
Rose, like a flower.
Okay. Roseville, CA. Yeah, because I was when I hosted you on my show, I was on the ironing board back home, but I'm in the office today and I'm getting books out to people. So we'll send a couple your way. I think my dad and his partner are interested in learning more about this. My dad wants to hold this and pass it on, and his partner wants to be retired and wants his money, or not. I'm not saying that in a greedy way. They never really came up with a buy, sell, exit, legacy strategy at the beginning. But, I don't know that the two we call it Gen 2. He's got two kids in different businesses, and my brother and I work in this business. I don't know that that's the best way forward either. So we're looking at, we might want to get some more information from you so they can explore these other outcomes other than the 1031 exchange and dying. Until our conversation, they'd never heard of this.
You got it.
So
one partner wants out to sell and doesn't want to get hammered. The other one doesn't want to get hammered and doesn't want to sell. Right. Well, and what's neat about the DST is this interest. Imagine your dad bought out his interest if he could, or whatever. He doesn't have to sell any of the assets. He could just buy out the interest, and these interests could go into the DST. This is what's beautiful. So your dad holds on to all of the assets, or we just find another partner or buyer to buy the assets. Your dad still owns the assets. They buy his interest, and his interest goes into the Deferred Sales Trust. We call it the seamless partnership separation without having to do a 1031.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So we're waiting for your episode to air on our show, but like in Bob's band, man, poor guy's, itching to get back up here now that the weather's nice in Cleveland. But I mean, he's been sequestered, in Florida, close to the beach. Lucky place to be sequestered, but or locked down. But that's just part of the ongoing challenges. One of these assets we want to fix up and sell. And that's sort of the comment was like, he's a good guy and he's a smart guy. And he's like, well, I can't sell it because of my tax thing. And I was like, there's ways I said, I know there's a way around it if we look.
Yeah.
And then Brett Swarts ended up on the show.
Hey, everything happens for a reason. And I would just say, when you're ready, just make introductions and we'll do a conference call with the tax attorney. No cost on our side. We don't charge anything unless you close it. So just say, hey, Dad, have a conversation, start to explore it, and then go from there. But when you're ready, I'll be here. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. We'll keep up the good work. I enjoyed our conversation again, and have a great day, man.
You too. Thanks, John.
All right, bye.
Bye.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.